Welcome to The Unedited Woman, where you'll hear candid conversations to improve your everyday life. In the studio today, we have Bec Gibbs. Bec, it is so nice to see you again. How are you, my love?
I'm actually so excited to be here. I feel like it's been a while since I've done a podcast and I can't think of anyone else better or I'd rather do it with, so I'm excited for it.
Oh, you're so sweet. Bless you. Thank you so much. So I want to kick it straight off with letting our audience know, who are you and what are you here for? What's your mission, Bec?
I feel for me, I lacked heaps of confidence, especially in my teenage years, and I felt like I didn't really fit in into the norm of like the cool kids, but I wasn't on the other side either. And for me, I found that really working on going to the gym and getting fit, and my fitness was a really big priority from like a sporting background. And I did notice a difference when I really got into my fitness of how it just improved my mood. It just made me so much more confident with being my own person as well. And I do feel like as women, we do, we do lack confidence in some areas, and how we feel about ourselves. And we judge ourselves so much. And I feel like there's nothing better than doing a workout, how it can totally shift your mindset and make you feel good about yourself. So I feel like my mission is, I know how good it feels to work out and I want everyone else to feel the same. So that's my role, is I just want to have every single woman I speak to or just change their lives to make them feel good.
What a beautiful mission to have. And you are absolutely 100% doing that. So just so people are aware, we first met each other at the start of this year, 2024, when I reached out to Bec through a referral from someone else, which is always the way I feel like when you're looking for a trainer or a nutritionist or any sort of like specialized areas. For me anyway, I always go through a referral. And so somebody referred you, and then we started chatting on Instagram and hit it off straight away. And then I signed up to work with you one-on-one. And I have to say, Bec, the results that we were able to achieve together were the best results that I've ever had in any sort of training program. We worked together for, my goodness, was it? I think we signed up for 8 and then did another 8 maybe, but it was the lead up to my TED Talk. So I had that real goal, that focus, that thing that I was working towards. And I was so, so happy with the results. Not only did I feel and look the best I ever had, but it was easy. And what I mean by that is I wasn't starving myself. I think every single time I've gone to lose weight in the past, and I've been dieting since I was 14, it would always involve restriction. And I remember I'd be tracking my food and you'd even say to me like, why aren't you eating? And like, I would still be in that sort of restrictive mentality. And so actually seeing for the first time that not only could I eat regularly, but that, for instance, carbs weren't the devil and I could still have my sweet treat at the end of the night. Like, it just totally blew my mind and showed me something that I didn't think was possible, which was you can eat consistently, you can enjoy food, and you can still be in the best shape of your life. So, I mean, I am a huge fan, and we're about to sign up for another one-on-one training session when I get back from Bali in a few weeks, which I can't wait for because I'm ready for another little kick up the bum. But I'd love to know, when did you start working with clients? What drew you to want to actually work in the space of transforming women's lives?
I think so. I first became a qualified PT when I was 18. So back in the day, I was a tennis player. I had a really bad shoulder injury. That's why I started going to the gym. And I just saw the trainers there and I was like, I could be a trainer. I feel like their jobs, like they're actually changing people's lives. And, back to me, how I felt. And I was like, I want to be one of those people. So I did my Cert 3-4 whilst doing my BCE or my high school education. So that was
Wow.
22 years ago. So that's how old I am. But my parents, they wanted me to be happy, but they felt like I could give more. So I did an accounting degree, and on the side, I was working as a personal trainer. ended up going into sort of the banking industry, and I tried so hard for 10, 12 years to balance both, but my heart was at the gym, and that was my happy place. And I just loved seeing results, and I loved helping people in the gym. So I guess I've been doing it for 22 years. And then really just thought I was going to go for it and do it full time, follow my passion. And then I feel like, you have this thing about your job is it's a job, so it's not supposed to be fun. And I almost felt guilty that I was so obsessed with my job and helping people and how that made me feel that it didn't feel like a real job. Um,
Mm.
but I like so blessed. So I feel like, yeah, 22 people, 22 years, and I can't even tell you how many clients I've had across that time. So yeah,
It
it's a
would be
long time.
thousands upon thousands, wouldn't it? Because you're also somebody who's really successfully transitioned into online coaching. And I'd love to talk about that for a moment because, to be honest, when we were first talking, I was a little bit hesitant to do online coaching. I was thinking to myself, how am I going to get the results? I had just always assumed that, to really train hard, I needed to have a PT with me at the gym. And I wasn't super confident about navigating my way around the gym or using particular weights. So I'd love for you to explain to everyone who's listening here today, how do you actually coach people online and get such amazing results at the same time?
Well, I think for me, coaching online, I actually prefer to do compared to face to face. I do now have come to the point that I build such a strong bond with my clients online that I actually am a much better online trainer coach. I feel like to so many more people than what I could do face to face.
Mm.
It's like the early morning messages that I want to send my clients just to check in. I generally want to make sure that they start their day right. It gives me a chance to sit there, make adjustments. We can have real conversations. And I do find that within the 30, 45, 60 minutes that you have with a face-to-face client, you do get to know them, but not as much as having constant conversations all the time. And with the app that I use, as you would know, I can know everything that the client is doing as well. So there's no secrets. We can't just rock into a session after having a big night before and I wouldn't know what was going on online. I know everything that everyone is doing on their fitness journey. So I feel like I'm much more covered over it. I am a bit of a control freak, but I feel it's just, personally feel like I have a stronger bond with my online clients.
There's something really powerful for me, it was anyway, about having that daily check in with you and actually the accountability that came with that. I found to be really, really helpful as well. And then on those days when perhaps I wasn't feeling as motivated or I was finding that there was a challenge that continued to come up, like for me, a lot of the time it was not having enough time. And you would give me these really amazing little tweaks and things that I could do that were very reactive to what was going on at any one given time. So it wasn't like, this is what you're doing for the week, and then it was a one and done. It was very much something that we continued to workshop together. And there was nothing that I ever took to you that was an issue or that you couldn't find a solution to, which was also really helpful. Because for me, it was so overwhelming. Like I said, I've never been someone who's had a great relationship with food, and I've never had a great relationship with my body until we started working together. Now, Bec, I don't know whether saying specialize is the right word, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have always trained me using weights. So I would call, is that strength and conditioning?
Strength. Yeah,
Eh,
strength training.
yeah. And I know a lot of women who are scared of weights because they don't want to get bulky. So, can you help explain why strength training is so fantastic for not only losing weight, but also toning the body for women specifically?
I think that's the whole misconception that if you pick up a dumbbell that you're going to get muscly and turn into a man. And it's very old school. And I guess back in the day, that's what, weights were scary for women, but also it's whole lot of unknown. For women though, it's so important to be doing weights because you're going to build up strength. And this is strength. This is great for mums because you've got to think you've got to pick up a baby, and do your, go about your life, carry your groceries, all that sort of stuff. So having a strength so important, but also for injury prevention as well. You'll find, unfortunately, as we get older, you start to get lower back pain, you get hip pain, you get knee pain, all this sort of stuff. If we build and work on our strength and you work on those muscles, you're actually going to be less likely to have those sort of injuries and also be able to overcome them. But that toned look that everyone is looking for is muscles. So as you get older, unfortunately, we do have a little bit more skin. It does become a little bit looser, and it's good to have the muscles there because it's just going to give you that toned look that just makes us feel confident as well.
Yes. So it's okay. And now tell me, what about protein? Because that was the other thing that I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know, is protein just going to make me stack on all this muscle and get heavier?
So protein is actually the secret, and I feel like you did get addicted to the YoPro ice creams, didn't you? The protein
I'm,
ice creams.
I'm still addicted. It's a real thing.
Protein, they're actually delicious. Protein is so important. I think back to your food, and a lot of us women, it did start in high school. Sorry, our food and our body issues about not eating. And what would happen is if we don't have protein in our body, we are craving energy. And for some reason, carbs are so good, and there's nothing wrong with carbs, but our first answer is pack of the chips, pack of the lollies, all that sort of stuff. But if we fuel our body with protein, it's going to give us more energy. It's going to help us with recovery, helps with our mind, helps with our hair, skin, muscles, everything. Protein's so important. And that is the one thing I feel like people don't have enough protein, but can actually help you lose weight, stop the binge eating. And I guess then that goes on to having a better relationship with our body as well.
Yeah. Okay, so on protein, can you perhaps make a few recommendations, or what are some, maybe we'll do like one breakfast, one lunch, one dinner. What are three sort of easy, accessible sources of protein that you could incorporate on a daily basis?
So I know you do love your sugar-free granola with
Hmm.
your high protein yogurt, so your YoPro, which is a great source. I personally love to have protein oats, which is not for everyone. I just feel that's quick and easy for me to have, and that's already 20 grams of protein you've got. Lunch, see, I absolutely love lasagna. So I have a healthy lasagna recipe, put in some minced chicken, um, salmon, tuna, all that sort of stuff is great to have as your base for your protein for lunch. I do personally recommend having some protein for afternoon tea just to stop with the binge eating. At the moment, I'm a massive fan of protein water because it has a lot of collagen in it, which is again great for the hair, nails, skin, all that sort of stuff. And I'm at the stage now that I can't really have protein shakes anymore. So protein water is great, or a
Mm.
yogurt, something like that for afternoon tea. And then dinner,
Why
I
not
always
protein
have a
shakes,
whole.
Beck?
Can I say I'm 40 and I'm sick of protein shakes?
Yes, you can. This is the place for honesty. That's so good to hear.
Protein shakes were pushed down our throats, normal milky ones, for such a long period of time. And so if I've been going to the gym for 22 years, imagine having a protein shake for 22 years every day.
It's a lot.
I like to mix it with protein water. It is a newer thing, but it's like if you like cordial and it's sweet, it gives you like a sweetness for your afternoon tea. So I'm on the protein water train at the moment.
Awesome. And I mean, this might sound like a silly question, so pardon me, but does that actually fill you up, or should you have that with something else?
It doesn't, I feel like it doesn't fill you up. I would have that with something else for your
Yeah.
afternoon tea. Like just it helps stop the urges for the binge eating and for the lollies, and where we always
Mm.
go down that spiral. We're just going to have two biscuits, but we have the whole packet.
Mm-hmm.
So the protein shake is great because it does give you the protein. A lot of the protein waters have 20 grams of protein in it, so you can have that with like carrots, some hummus dip, some fruit. I love them bags of the mini Scotch fingers. I'm on them at the moment. So pairing something that you love like
Yeah.
that with your protein shake, you're not going to eat overindulge.
That makes sense. So rather than eating the whole packet, you can still enjoy one or two of the thing you love, but then you're also getting the protein element, which then helps with the hunger and maybe then prevents you from binging
Yeah.
later at night as well. That's a really good suggestion. So, Beck, I find that a lot of my clients, let me rephrase, I very rarely do I ever meet a woman who says, I love my body and I wouldn't change a thing. In fact, I could count the less than on one hand. Often, more often, what comes out of their mouth is, I'd like to lose a few kilos. So there's always that need to just want to shift a little bit, maybe 5 kilos seems to be a common number,
Yeah.
5 to 10 maybe. What would you advise for somebody who's just wanting to shift those 5 kilos that always seem to be the most stubborn?
So I feel like, and it's such, everyone's journey is so different, right? But the quickest, or I shouldn't say the quickest, the easiest thing to implement is your walking. I feel like walking is so underestimated, or people don't realize the value of walking and how it can change so many aspects. If you walked every day, it would actually help your mindset shift. So you have that, you start to feel better about yourself. You're actually also less likely when you do form of exercise to eat. I hate the word unhealthy, but I guess overeating. You're less likely to overeat the wrong food because you've exercised, and there's been numerous studies about that. So I think implementing walking, especially starting the day, even if you walk around the house and do 1,000 steps and just get yourself going, that'll make a massive difference. But I guess the blanket rule would be, I would say for my clients, is walk for 30 minutes a day. Incorporate some sort of workout in your life. So it might be Pilates or yoga at home, or going to the gym, or getting a few weights and doing a 30-minute circuit at home. The biggest thing is reviewing your protein though, and your actual food itself, because often we don't actually realize how much of I'm not going to say wrong food, but high calorie food that we don't really realize are that, and we don't have enough protein. So it's like this never ending cycle that we go on, where we diet in the morning and then in the afternoon we binge, and then we give up because we've already eaten the wrong food. So I think having a good meal plan, or understanding how nutrition works, and I think the easiest way is if you can hit 120 grams of protein, I'm going to say on average per day, you're going to set yourself up for success. So I think just making those small changes is probably the biggest or the easiest way to see results. So walking, reviewing your food and your protein, and doing some small exercise at home. It doesn't have to be hours though.
That's so true. I love that 30 minutes a day. Should we tell them the Kewpie Mayo story? Do you remember when I was doing my food tracking with Beck, and I would put Kewpie Mayo, that Japanese mayo, in, and I just remember you messaging me saying, I just can't let this one slide. It is such high caloric value. Like, Ash, I don't think you understand. And then when you explained it to me, 1 tablespoon, how many calories versus if I were to use the light option, I was just like, when I saw the numbers in front of me, I was horrified. That still makes me laugh to this day,
I feel
though.
like we don't track sauce. I feel like I have such a thing about sauces, and it's from my clients, but we don't track sauce. We just free pour them, and we're like, it doesn't count because it's liquid. I think that, yeah, a white mayo will save you. I actually
It's
do
been a
think
great.
of you though, whenever I open a cabinet and I see the mayo, the any sort of mayo, I do think of you.
Amazing. I'm glad that's the impression that I've left. So let's talk about. I'd love to actually ask you what's your vibe on fasting? That's not something we ever really discussed, because you always just provided me with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I was very consistent with what you would provide for me. I followed it quite closely. But I have heard a lot of people advocate it for it. I've also heard a lot of people say it's great for men, not women. Like, what's your opinion on fasting?
I love fasting, but not for those reasons. The research has proved that it does, fasting makes no difference. So my personal thing is I would not survive that long without having food. So it blows my mind that anyone else could. Um, I There's no research to prove that it is beneficial for men and women at all. The whole point of fasting is to lose weight quicker. You're not getting an advantage. So I do have some clients that don't really like breakfast. And that's fine. If you want to wait a little bit till you eat, that doesn't really matter. I just feel like energy wise and to stop binge eating, it is good to have something. But if you don't want to have breakfast, don't have breakfast. But you're not winning the weight loss race by fasting. It makes no difference. It's your overall 24-hour, how many calories you have versus how many calories you burn or the energy that you use. So there's no point fasting and then it gets to 5 o'clock and then you eat 5,000 calories because it goes off your overall for the whole day what you've had. So my hats
Yeah.
off to people that can fast. I personally can't.
Mm.
It's not that I don't believe in it, but I just think if you're not really benefiting either.
Mm. That then brings me to my next question then, which is what should I eat before and after a workout? So let's start with the after, because with fasting, I kind of thought if I trained in the morning and then I didn't consume protein after I'd worked out, then I was kind of not getting the ultimate bang for my buck in regards to building muscle and strength. Now, I've just kind of made that up. I could be totally off the mark, but I'd love to know, what do you recommend in terms of what to eat before and after training?
Okay, so before is my biggest pet peeve. And if you don't eat, I don't know that we can't be friends. If you don't eat before you train, I have as a trainer that like I actually can't even tell you the times that I know straight away if a client hasn't eaten and the amount of times that clients have passed out pretty much in front of me because they haven't eaten. Just the
Oh
energy
no.
levels, I just see the color change. I must have some sort of trauma. So you have to eat before you train. Don't do that. As a trainer, please don't do it. I think that it does go down to each person. I personally like to eat. I feel fine if I've eaten beforehand. Definitely not a big, large, milky coffee is not ideal.
Hmm.
But having something in your stomach you the energy. If you are training in the morning but haven't eaten since 7 p.m. the night before, you burn energy while you sleep. So you're not really maximizing your results and working on your
Mm.
strength if you don't have that energy. So I think it is based on personal preference. Half a banana, some rice cakes with peanut butter, just something little carb is great just to give you that little bit of energy to maximize your workout. After your workout, I do recommend protein as a part of the meal. So if you have a protein water, protein shake, some yogurt, something like that, but that's more for recovery point of view. So if you do have the protein, it's going to help the muscles recover a lot faster. Again, it's going to give you more energy as well. So
Mm.
it doesn't have to be this, you know, I see some people on Instagram that they go and they have like this whole big pre-training, I'm going to eat 5 croissants and whatever else just to maximize it, the workout. It doesn't have to be like that. If your body can only take a small amount of food, have that beforehand, preferably carb-based. Afterwards, protein, it's going to help the recovery.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually really interesting. I had never really thought about how important it was to eat beforehand, but and that makes so much sense. Like
Please.
my partner always eats before he trains, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Okay, maybe I should try that. Um, Beck, what about sleep? Sleep is something that I think a lot of women, especially young mums, really struggle with. And I know for me that when I haven't had a solid night's sleep, or maybe even if I'm getting to bed late and I have that decision to either set my alarm early to make sure I have time to go to the gym and train, but that then eats into the length of sleep I'm going to be able to get. Like, it might be the difference between getting 6 or 7 hours sleep. What's your recommendation? Is it more important to maintain good sleep quality and then try and train later in the day or on another day? Or do you think you should just have consistent days where you train and it's a non-negotiable?
So I don't want to offend anyone, and please don't take this personally. I think you need to really look at the bigger picture of what is stopping you from sleep. So if it's stopping you from sleeping because you're scrolling on TikTok and Threads and Instagram and it's just mindless, that's what's keeping you awake at night, then definitely that needs to stop, and that's a no excuse. You need to get up and go to the gym. Sounds very Kim Kardashian of me, but to get up and go to the gym and work. I think that is you putting in roadblocks to your own what you want to achieve, right? Um, I think though, if you are a new mum, or if you've got kids, or if a family member's generally unwell, or you're under a really stressful time at work, and that is what's keeping you up, and it's an actual real distraction, then sleep is going to be more important. Because if you need to be on the next day, then it's pointless you being tired and going to the gym being tired. Like, no amount of coffee is going to fix that and give that energy back. So I think it's having that real conversation with yourself. Are you just saying you're tired as an excuse, or is what's going on around you actually affecting you? But I
Mm.
think what you also said about setting your days, I think that it's really important to plan ahead. And I'm a massive advocate to being prepared is what equals success. So if you look at your week and you go, right, Monday, I've got back-to-back meetings, I've got all this stuff going on with the kids, I've got whatever else, Monday is out. Fine, then you know that you go Tuesday, and then you pick your days looking at your whole week calendar rather than saying, I'm going to start tomorrow, and knowing that that's not really going to happen, because you know what? You just give up after that because you feel like you've let yourself down.
Mm. So, okay, in a perfect world, how often should I be training? What like if there was nothing else getting in the way, what do you think would be an ideal week? What would that look like?
I feel like 4 sessions a week is perfect, because I've been, when I was a bodybuilder, obsessed with training. And I know that if you train every day, what that does to your mind, it does turn into, if you don't train, you feel guilty. And then it's almost like the food cycle of when you feel bad because you haven't exercised. And I feel like 4 days is perfect. As women, most of us work or have kids, and that's like takes up most of our lives. I feel like 4 is the perfect balance between not going over the top, still getting results, and I think that that's enough.
Mm. And what about if I love, for me, this is a real life example, yoga, for instance. So like I know I have my yoga
Yeah.
practice that I want to try and get to at least once or twice a week. Do you recommend doing that on the days that you're not strength training, or can they swap out? Like, how does it all fit in?
So I am a massive believer in strength training, and I do feel like if you love strength training, then 4 is perfect, and then you can swap in, 1 or 2 yogas or your Pilates with that, as long as you're not overdoing it. I feel like they do work together quite well.
Mm.
Um, Otherwise, if you love yoga and Pilates and you're not the biggest strength training person, 3 times a week of strength training is fine. And then you can have, your 2 to 3 yoga and Pilates. I do feel like you've got to do what works for you. And there's no point saying go to the gym 5 days a week, but you actually want to do yoga 5 days a week.
Yeah, that's true. It's also about finding what movement works for you, what you enjoy doing, because if you enjoy doing it, you're more likely to go. But I will also say on that it's good to try things that maybe you haven't tried before, because I didn't think that I was really much of a strength girl. And since our time together, like I still go to the gym now, and that's my main form of exercise, and I find that it keeps me strong. And then I make time for my yoga practice, which is more about really actually connecting with my body and having more of a spiritual experience anyway. Whereas the strength training, I do really find I see results. And I think that when you start to see results, that really keeps you motivated to want to continue achieving those results and continue showing up for yourself. And that kind of ties into my next question, Bec. What do you recommend for maintaining motivation and consistency with a workout routine? Because I feel like, and this is the reason I'm coming back to you for another kick up the bum, like I can be motivated for a period of time, and then, oh my goodness, once I fall off, it's so hard to get back into the swing of things.
I think so. I guess this is where I love my job is because I see myself as everyone's fitness best friend. Like we're going to the gym together, we're on this journey together. So I do feel like we're all motivated to do some things, and the gym might not be so much. And sometimes you do need someone to hold your hand just to get you back in there. And feel good about yourself, because I know that once you get back into it, you'll feel great and you'll be like, why did I stop doing this in the first place? It's just you need someone to give you that kick up the bum to get going. I'm blessed because after, you would hope, 22 years, that you find that motivation is, I know if I go to the gym, I'm going to feel so much better about everything, not just my body, but my mindset changes as well. But I do feel like we underestimate the power of having a trainer just to help get us back in there and be that friend that's on our side. Because unfortunately, our partners probably do let us get away with a little bit because they all think that we look great and we are perfect. Sometimes you just need that third party just to give you that little bit of push in the right direction, just to remind you of how good it feels.
You make such a good point there, Bec, that it really is, I think, 50% about the physical body and then 50% about the emotional body, and the impact that exercise has on our mental health. We all know the studies and the statistics that show the increase in dopamine, and, that's our feel good hormone. But there's something deeper for me, which comes back to the consistency piece, where when I'm showing up for myself regularly, the subconscious messaging is you're worthy, you're lovable, you're enough. And I'm showing that in my actions, in showing up for myself, where, on the flip side, when I'm not showing up for myself and I do start to let those habits slip, and it does seem to be a slippery slope. Like, I really identified with what you said before about when you train, you make better food choices. Like, I trained this morning, and so before we jumped on this call, I had one of those protein bars that you would get me to eat, rather than going for, a piece of chocolate or, a bag of chips, or not that we have chips in the house, but, like I just would have, I think, cheese was always my weak spot, like cheese and crackers, which is not, necessarily the worst thing, but if I hadn't trained, I would have probably made that choice. But because I had trained, I also, and this is just a funny psychological thing that happens to me, is I feel less guilty about eating protein, even though I know I should be eating protein no matter what. I find that when I train in the morning, I'll eat a protein bar and I won't. Psychologically, it's an easier decision for me. So, yeah, I definitely think I show up better in all areas of my life when I can prioritize fitness and moving my body. Is that the same for you?
100%. I feel like, and you're obviously aware that unfortunately my mum passed away 5 weeks
Mm.
ago. And honestly, I experienced when my dad passed away, which would have been 14 years ago, I was probably not quite where I am now with myself. I was still doing bodybuilding, but I just didn't have the same love for myself that I do now. And can I say that, every journey is so different when people's loved ones pass away. But for me, the only thing that got me through was the gym, and it had nothing to do with what my body was going to look like. It was that mental thing that I still was doing something for myself, and I was proving to myself that I was still a strong, capable woman as well. And I feel like
Mm.
it's like any things that happen in our life, it is the gym and your workout is your one safe place to go, where it doesn't actually matter what else is going on around us. It just resets our mind, and puts us back on track. And like you said, you get those good endorphins going. And sure, everything might still be a mess once you leave the gym, but just giving yourself that break and that time out, to get yourself going again. I just feel it just does wonders for us as women.
Mm.
Um, and how we feel about ourselves.
That's so true. That is such a beautiful message and a beautiful place to leave this conversation here today. Bec, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so, so much, not just for your time today, but for the huge impact you've made in my life and the life of thousands of other women. If people want to be able to track you down and find out more, perhaps how they can work with you, where should they go?
Instagram is the best place. I love a DM, so please slide in. I love chatting about any questions at all. So, which is Bec Gibbs Fitness. Ask any questions. Love to chat to all the women.
Amazing. I'll make sure I pop those episode show notes in there, and I will be seeing you very, very, very soon. Thanks so much once again, Bec.